Africa is the next frontier for VCs, for entrepreneurs, for people here in the States that actually want to, really get ahead almost.
This is the Mooncast.
See you, Space Cowboy.
We are live. Welcome to the Mooncast, man. How you
Hey,
doing?
I'm doing great, great to be here. Great to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. If you could, can you just introduce yourself real quick to the audience? Let them know who you are, a little bit about your background, and what you're about.
Yes, absolutely. Well, my name is Darnell. Friends call me ID in the Web3 space, especially. I'm representing IndieBrokers Dao, which is an agency for enterprise and individuals in the space of Web3 and migrating from Web2. So basically, what we do is we actually meet with different investors, meet with different developers, different creators, and we're actually building projects to put them on a platform that we are beta testing now, and we're also aiming to build a venture fund in the space. So that's our primary goals right now. And really, what brings me really to the space is really just the affinity for trying to be a part of my community and affect a lot of people with education on crypto, education on Web3, education on financial wellness, stability, and things of that nature. So, yeah, that's really what we do.
Awesome, man. What are some of the challenges that you face when trying to build out a venture fund?
Well, the challenges of actually doing it for the first time, that's for sure. This is
Yeah.
something that's that's a brand new space. This wasn't something I just, hey, I always wanted to do this, to be honest. Um, Really, the challenges are really finding the direction that you want to create as far as a thesis. Like, what do you want to tell people you're offering, right? I think
Yeah.
things come down to really identifying, what is the change you want to see, right? And then being able to translate that and communicate that. I think my biggest challenge has been exciting people about what the possibilities are, but not necessarily, having all the steps that they may need to see to come to fruition. So that's been a process in this emerging space of, hey, I've never built a fund, and now we're trying to do that on new technology. So I think that would be what the primary things. But when I really get to thinking about being in the space, the challenges are really just connecting with people on a real tangible level, right? Because a lot of our communications are either on apps or on the internet online for a
Yeah.
lot of people in the space. So to be able to meet people in person or get a real face to face
I know exactly what you're
conversation
talking about.
is that can be tough sometimes. But
Yeah.
I think things are coming around. I think we're having some success as of late.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what vertical? Because I know in the venture space it's quite massive in terms of market share and everything. But what vertical are you looking to really strategically attack? Is it mainly Web3 products? Is it niches within Web3? Is it AI too as well? Are you looking at other sort of technological revolutions? You look at quantum computing and stuff like this. So, what specifically are you focused or wanting to focus on for the indie brokers platform?
Well, I want to first focus on streaming, right? Streaming technology. There's something called streaming capital, streaming finance, right? To build streaming communities. So I think this. I come from the music industry. First and foremost, I'm a songwriter. I've been a songwriter for about 14 years,
Are you on
professionally.
Spotify?
I know I got off that platform, a little, politics,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
I was on Spotify, but yes, I kind of just use SoundCloud right now, but
Okay.
that's no real horse in the race for a platform right now. And I
Hmm.
guess hopefully in our conversation we can get to that. But what I wanted to affect was changing the music industry using some of these technology because I come from that, and
Hmm.
blockchain was something that we could use to reconcile, the changes that we need to see as far as artists, creators, producers, so on and so forth, to own our IP and to create, business ventures from those IPs over time. And this, it was a perfectly, a perfect model to scale off of when you start to understand what NFTs, blockchain, things like that can do. And I've been more forefront in my region, in my location, you know in my network. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, well, you go figure that out and let us know how it works, because we don't have the time, the patience, the wherewithal to figure it out at this juncture. We don't want to know how the toilet works, is how what I hear a lot, right?
Yeah.
So from that, music and the streaming of music, and then bringing that into what streaming finance can do, there's an upside of understanding the digital space, and those technologies, that we really think that we can provide some solutions. So that's the most general way I can put it without throwing too much hair into the
Yeah.
conversation early.
Can you break down a little bit, because for the audience, so they can
Hmm.
understand a little bit of the challenges in the music industry currently right now in terms of IP, and how you get onboarded, and how these sort of new emerging technologies can help to solve some of the issues that are happening right now in the bottlenecks in the music industry?
Okay, so I start with it like this, right? As a creator, as a songwriter, you actually hold the value, or producer, or whatever the case is, because the way that an actual product of music is split usually into quadrants, right? Of ownership. There's the composer, the writer, the producer, and then the performer, right? Some people
How is
don't.
that split usually, like in
It's
percentages?
usually, well, it's split by who does the work, right? So somebody can be 100% all of those different hats, right? And I think what happened over time, people who wore those different hats were represented differently in different spaces, right? Producers were represented differently, songwriters not maybe represented so much, right? Performers were highly represented, right? But publishers were the ones who were controlling all these different metrics. So there's sides to what an actual song is. There's a mechanical side of that song, things that comprise those things that I said, and then there's the royalties that come from the performance of that song in different arenas and on different mediums. All these different technologies that have expanded from when it went from record to now where we are in streaming, there hasn't been a lot of aggregation in the music industry to account for all of these technologies and all of these people who will wear the different hats as things would delegate and change over time. So where I wanted to first affect the changes for songwriters, for producers, for those said performers who wanted to own their IP and didn't want to get into a relationship with a particular label, publisher, whomever, where they would have to lose that leverage, to take what was considered a bad loan and have, these advances and have, these economic windfalls, but then it will be a downfall because they wouldn't be educated on how to, take care of it, or what that structure is, or understand that contract. So there's a lot of financial education that's been needed. But we've been seeing a lot of that happen over the years. We've seen social media become a lot more of an equivalent for that. But where I wanted to take it further, it was like, okay, we understand we need to learn these things. We understand, but the actual infrastructure of the business, there's the people who are running it, the executives and so on and so forth, that are like, hey, we don't make this stuff. We're just here trying to use the same metrics or not of what finance would do to actually, create, the capital for these, stars to emerge.
Yeah.
And that's and that's the difference between the independents and this and what's going on with majors. So there's a lot of artists who are signed. There's a lot of independent artists who really just don't have the funds, to actually push their career forward. What are the things that we need to do in the middle? We need to create more education. We need to create more opportunities. But then we also need to secure a lot of these things, because there are bigger people at play who control a lot of what's going on. And to affect those people and to affect the change on that level is where I'm trying to come from.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you break down a little bit of how, because I want to really, really get into the nitty gritty of
Hmm.
how these big conglomerates take advantage of artists. They're coming up trying to get these bad loans, these bad contracts. What happens contractually? Can you a little bit break it down to showcase to people basically how they abuse, quite frankly, some of
Hmm.
these artists? They're trying to come up and they have no idea about contracts, no idea about business.
Right. So I'll be honest with you, right? I have a contract on the table right now for myself. I've been offered recording contracts. I've been offered writing contracts. I've been offered even opportunity to work as an A&R for some of these labels. What I would say is initially, so if I'm gonna put you in the mind of somebody who's just on the come up and hoping to get an opportunity. They have say they make an offer, or a lot of people don't get to the offer. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of grueling, putting yourself out there, being in the business for many years for most people, until you get to those conversations and you meet those people who take you seriously, that move you throughout that process and actually say, okay, you're somebody we want to sit and do business with, right? So that's people have a plight there in and of itself. Where do I go? Who do I know? Who's real? Who's really doing these things, and so on and so forth. So that's usually the first part. But say that now you found those people and it's a reputable person, it's somebody a reputable, manager, lawyer, whatever the case is. Most of the time they are already in the business for the label, right? Because they know that's where the money's coming from, right? It's almost like you meet a loan officer, right? To get a house, right? They're in it because they know where the money's already coming from, right? So
Yeah.
that's really really what it's about. So you're coming in there bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they already know that you'll do anything, right? Usually, right? Without, if you're not educated, or if you're not of a certain age, or have a certain background, or have certain relationships that they can already call back to say, okay, well, we got to watch that person. He knows this person. He knows that person, kind of thing. Or she
So
knows.
so basically, I just want to stop you real quick before you continue. They are targeting basically people who are uneducated completely and are vulnerable and are desperate, right? These are their target demographic usually.
This is something that I'm not gonna cast aspersions to say that this is the sole purpose of anybody who's in this business and this is how they think. No, those are bad actors that usually think like that. But what it is in a general sense, you're looking for someone who's willing to take this opportunity, right? You have a catalog that you want to make sure that is a return on, if you're working for a label, right? If I'm an
Yeah. Yeah.
A&R, there's a catalog that has to get returned on, and then there's other artists that you have to bring to have a more catalog. That's how they make their money. So if I know that you can give me a catalog of 20, 30 records, right? a
Yeah.
hundred records, however many it may be. But all I need is maybe two, three, four, five, six of those of that catalog to actually make my return. I don't really care about your career. I don't really care about where you're taking certain things in a general sense. Now, I know I may have people downstream in my company that may be more hands-on with you. The handlers, the A&Rs, artists and repertoire, that's supposed to be there to coddle you, to make sure that they're working with your management and your PR and so on and so forth, so that all you know is what you need to know, and
Yes.
we get everything that we need to get from you in response. So it's more to say they're not. I wouldn't call people just targeting uninformed people, because then you can't do business with somebody who just doesn't know enough. There's a
Yeah.
truth in that. But there's a part where they're targeting people where they say, okay, you're talented enough, but you don't have what we have, right?
Yeah.
So how do we leverage what we have against what you're looking for? And that's usually where the impetus of people get taken advantage of. And most of the time that can happen in any situation. I don't have the money to take my career where I want it to be, but you do. What do I need to do? Sign here? That's as simple as it is for most artists or most individuals who want the opportunity. On the other side of that, it's a quandary of who now owns said rights to said IP. Because if now if the label spends that money to actually blow you up as an artist, that's like, hey, that's my share. I've come in and I've taken that and I've made you something that you wouldn't have ordinarily had. So from that standpoint, there is a whole understanding that needs to go in for artists in general, right? There's a whole education that needs to happen for how you get a deal, how do you move, independently, how do you move on a major, all of that kind of stuff. I like to deal less in that space because I've been in that space for about 10 years, right? And in that space, it's very difficult to be a consultant in that space because you're also trying to make money. So you can't charge people for what they don't know and tell them something that they need to hear at the same time.
Yeah.
That's also found this niche in the business, and that's also led to some detriment personally that I step away from. So the main thing to sink your teeth into it is to say, how do you get somebody who's not known to somebody that the world wants to care about? That's their
Yeah.
job. And then now on the other side of that, what is that going to cost? Right, and who's willing to mitigate some of those costs, or who's going to come together to, to pay for that, right? And that becomes a business thing that is outside of the realms of what the artist cares about. The artist is just trying to tell their story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the most part, they're not trying to figure out how does this work with, me needing to feature with this person who's on that label who has rights over here,
Yeah.
that they don't know that the rights to this over here, that they did a remix here, the rights to this is over here. All of those types of things are where we start to find, a lot of, misunderstanding, within the
Yeah.
music industry, because ownership is very scarce. Not everybody owns their stuff. So when you get into trying to create with people, when you get into trying to do things, it a lot of people don't understand. It starts from, those split sheets. It starts from,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we've created something, and now how do we divvy up all that we've created together, right?
Yes.
Most people don't know how to do that. Most people don't understand that that's a part of the process and the real way to be, accountable to what you're putting out in the public, and hopefully get a return from it, right? If I'm an artist and I go into the studio, I'm bringing a beat, from, somebody else,
Yeah.
that's done a
Yeah.
remix on the, you know beat from somebody else who maybe didn't own that,
Yeah.
and I love what I created, and the engineer loves what we've done, but now we still got to go to, putting this out and marketing this up ourselves. And a lot of that we're trying to make money off of in the meantime, right? So I'm trying to put it on streaming platforms. I'm trying to do all these things, but that require it to go through all these checks and balances of all these people signing off who have ownership of different parts of that sound recording that you may be using to record with. So in this day and age where there's not a lot of originality, people don't play music the way that they used to. They're not creating, new pieces of music. Either they're not foundationally doing that, or they're deciding to just use technology, right,
Yeah. Yeah.
to their advantage. There's a precedent that still hasn't been set, and there's the part of the business, with, just the nature of this is the way we've always done things, that just
Yeah.
hasn't been changed. So all of those things converging at once is really where you start to see the struggles for independent artists, for people who want to break into the music industry. And that's why the veneer is to say, okay, everybody's online, and the labels are now just cherry picking whoever they want to cherry pick from, everybody online. So that's really, from that standpoint, it's to say, yes, they are taking advantage from the fact that it's like, everybody out there, go kill yourselves. You know what I mean? And we'll take the one who rises to the top. You know
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that, and that. So from that standpoint, it's like, it can be tough for people to understand.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And would you say in today's day and age, with the plethora of different outlets that you can use and leverage in with this, Web 2 versions of where places you could put your content basically on the web, and you can leverage the algorithm and find ways to blow up that way. Do you think it's better for indie artists to go that route, or to go ahead and still get signed from a record label? Do you think that's phasing out? And what does Web3 play into all of this?
great question. Thank you for that. So one, I do support independent artists finding their way on these different platforms. I do. I also am probably gonna hot take the fact that I don't think that labels are really going anywhere. Right? What I
Mm,
think that they're doing is reimagining their approach, and they may not be so heavy footed. I think that they're gonna find a way to dilute themselves a bit, but still have impact in what's going on, because by the nature of the fact that how much they control in the marketplace, capital share in the marketplace, it's hard to say that they're not going to exist. They just maybe reimagined in a different way, and then
mm.
maybe reimagined into creating platforms themselves, right?
Oh
So
wow.
now, yeah, yeah, for sure. So what I could see happening is labels go from just being a label to the same way. Well, we saw what happened with TikTok. We see what's going on with this. Now these labels are just going to create their own platforms that are going to release the music of said artists the same way that they've all bought into Spotify,
Yeah,
right? And they
but
and they
do you
bought into.
think do you think because Spotify is so far ahead in
Mhm.
regards to their platform, the technology, and everything, and also they've onboarded so many people in the masses. Do you think that why would you be incentivized to have 17 different monthly recurring revenue models and pay for all of that as an end consumer? I feel like it would make more sense to do what kind of like the Spotify model where they buy the licensing from Warner Bros. And so on and Universal,
Mhm.
and they put all the music onto one platform, and it makes it easier for the end consumer. So I don't know if that model would work and it would be competitive enough because they only have a select amount of artists for that particular label, right?
Right. And that what happened is there still could be uniformity between the labels. There always was.
Yeah.
I think that's a misconception between a lot of people. If you go it's something very small, if you were in the 90s, right? I don't want to show too much my age, but back in the day when there were CDs and there were inserts inside of the CDs, or when there were records, you could see the credits, right?
Yeah.
Inside these credits is where you would see who wrote what, who produced what, things of that nature. Some Title and some other platforms allow you to see these things now. If you look in this, you would see some artists, if they were a featured artist, appears courtesy of, and you will see the label, right? Those are the
uh
those are the little nuances that people never understood before, right?
okay.
People were appearing courtesy of the label, meaning we work for different companies. My company
Mm-hmm.
said it's okay for me to do this project with you because we're in cahoots to make money together from us doing this song or this collaboration, right?
Yeah.
But when artists were doing this collaborating or using some of these sonics or these songs or these palettes from remixes or things of that nature and creating their own thing, their own sound, and going in their own direction, they became untraceable.
Yeah.
So a lot of this untraceable music, to if it's untraceable to an establishment, it's like fraud. It's like stolen music. It's like Napster. It's
Yes.
like when you can't account for it, that means somebody's owed some money. So so from that situation, you've seen, if you go for the past 20 years, you say, okay, Napster was 2000 or 99, 2000 Napster, and the LimeWires and so on and so forth. These were the platforms that allowed the end consumer to get the music for cheap, for free, for nothing. And they became these behemoth platforms. How did they get shut down? Because it wasn't accounted for the people who actually created it, those people who owned it, the publishers. They couldn't have control over it. So they pulled it back until they can reimagine a way that they can redistribute it to you with them being able to account for all these different performances that were
Yeah.
happening on these new digital mediums. Now, if we're fast forwarding, like you said, Spotify's way out in front, right? But they're way out in front because they went and they circumvented going to get each artist that said, I'm gonna go to your boss because I already understand you don't own anything to give me any rights to anything, and that's why we're having a feudal conversation. I'll go to the person who now owns your IP, and I place your IP on my platform. You're none the wiser, and it doesn't matter what the split is. You get
Mm-hmm.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
this is why the algorithm is tailored the way that it is, because it took no account to how much we're trying to create a substantial lifestyle for potential artists or producers, so on and so forth. We're just creating a streaming platform, and we're trying to affect the masses. So
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah. And so with Web3,
Mhm.
how could it help to optimize or to fix some of these bottlenecks?
Okay, well, I tell you right now, and this is a shameless plug because I have no affiliation other than I'm on this platform as a beta tester.
Yeah.
But there's a platform that I will speak highly of, and it's called Even. There's a lot of artists who are independent artists that want to get on this platform, and they actually have some notable names like Lil Russell. They also have Ryan Leslie who joined their
Oh,
platform.
okay.
They
Okay.
also have Dame Lillard as an artist on
Oh.
their
Oh,
on
Dame?
their
Dame on it?
Yes, he's on it as
Okay.
well. Yeah, so they,
Okay.
they, they have a lot of other notable names. I mean, if you check it out, there's a lot of
Yeah.
notable names who
How do you
joined the
spell it?
platform. Even, Even.
Even. Okay.
Yep,
Even. Okay.
They say Even is Maggie is the CEO of that platform, but he's another person in the space like myself. I haven't met him personally. They just left New York. I didn't get a chance to catch up with him, but I say that to say this: underneath that platform, and like this is only on my own research. This is not in a communication with him, so hopefully this is not divesting too much information that I'm not supposed to. I'm only a researcher, right?
Yeah.
And a beta tester. But what I know is the effective change that they wanted to create was to find the super fan. That has been the whole, elixir to fixing what's going on. Find the true fan for the artist, and then make everything traceable from the fact that you can say this is a guaranteed income stream because you have true fans, right?
Yes.
Those true fans are going to pay for your music, your merch, your shows, anything that have to do with you as a brand or an artist or what you want to do. So now we've truncated needing a million sales to hopefully you only need 1,000 fans,
Yeah.
right? And now when you have the need only for 1,000 fans, now you can use platforms like Even, where underneath it there's some technology that allows them to say, okay, each transaction can now be recorded through our app. Right now, I
Mm-hmm.
won't get into whatever they're doing on the back end because I would rather them speak more professionally about their application or,
Mm-hmm.
or what they're offering. But as far as what I understand about it, it gives each artist the opportunity to pretty much trunk make a slim version of a website. To be honest, where you see websites they offer maybe a tiered subscription or a tiered opportunity. You can join for free. You can join for this much a month, or you can pay a premium price. So each artist goes there on this app, and they kind of set up exactly what they want to do for their community. They say if you
Yeah.
pay $10, you get on my music. You pay $25, you come to all my shows. You pay $100, you come to my shows, you get my music. And now for the songs that I'm putting out, you get a little piece of my royalty because you putting a little bit more skin in the game with me early on as I'm going. So a platform like that is is suitable for independent artists who are getting those initial fans and those initial people who want to get behind them and support them, and they can have some reciprocation early on in their success. I think that model that uses blockchain underneath that for that app, that all those transactions are now recorded. I think when that cycles over, brands will come in, identify those artists, and say, okay, we want to create what's more like an NIL situation for college. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what's going to happen with the music industry. And then that same way that we saw, the NCAA just taking all the rights for, the student athletes, right? And the NIL changing things, and now they're making some millions who can acquire
Yeah.
that type of brand
Mm-hmm.
notoriety,
Yeah.
but while they're in college. I believe the same thing will be able to happen for the music industry using this type of technology.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And can you break down a little bit of the royalty distribution currently right now and how that could be potentially remodeled in more of like in the Web3 sort of outlook on things?
Yeah, I can do so really quickly. The royalty distribution thing, it goes through a lot of different channels. So you have to first have a performance rights organization represent you as a performer, artist, songwriter, publisher. Right.
Okay.
So there's ASCAP, BMI, CSEC, things of that nature, where it's like, these are almost bureaus,
Yeah.
in a way, right? They track
Yeah.
down anything that happens, whatever you do. So
Yeah.
when you're with one of those first, right? A performance
Yeah.
rights organization, it's like being a SAG artist, except they don't give you the benefits, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
just administering tracking down where everything's happening. There are a lot of different organizations that came in throughout these technologies that said, okay, we're going to follow radio. That was SoundScan or Nielsen. Then there's others that said we're going to follow, what you do digitally, and that became, what you hear from, Sound Exchange,
Mm-hmm.
and some of those organizations. So you have to do your research and find all these organizations still to this day where you need to make sure you're registered and applied, and all these people know that you're putting out whatever you say that you own independently.
Mm-hmm.
When you're
Yeah.
doing that, then that's when it doesn't matter where your stuff is or how long it's out there, you can start to get some royalties from it. So a lot of people usually get their royalties from music or from TV sync deals or movie deals and so on and so forth. Most of those are only collateralized if you're with a major label, right?
Yeah.
Because they're the ones with those relationships. There's no one-on-one person, walking up to Netflix and saying, "Hey, I got a song for this next video," right? So that's really the main thing. That's the main thing to say, we can affect things from a royalty situation, because when we start showing people exactly all the places they need to register without going through the majors, right? And creating
Mm-hmm.
more companies eventually that will start to compete with the opportunity to register these music in all these different territories. Then you will start to see the proliferation of more platforms starting to arise, because people will start to see a more tangibility in the marketplace.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. And but I did hear, I don't know if you could correct me if I'm wrong or not, about
Mhm.
Spotify not paying the royalties. I don't know if to what, maybe you could speak
No,
to
they don't
that.
pay royalties. No, they don't pay
Okay.
royalties. No,
Okay.
so Spotify was Spotify. The issue with Spotify is they have an algorithm that they came up with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that algorithm said, each one of these streams is, however they broke the stream down. It's like, is that money? like, like, what is that? You know what I mean? You broke the stream down. It's like into some, like we don't even. People don't deal in decimals.
Yes.
That's the truth of the matter. People
Yeah.
deal in fiat numbers, as you understand, one, two,
Yeah.
three, and integers that are more than that, and
Yeah.
put commas, please, commas, no
Exactly. Yeah.
decimals, right? So
Yeah.
we dealing with a decimal and then integers after the decimal, and that in and of itself has got everybody in a tizzy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do
Yeah.
that kind of math, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't make much sense. It's not sustainable, right? On that part of it. Whereas with Spotify, what they did, and Daniel, I'm honestly, we're on the platform right now. I am not happy that the amount of profits that he's been taking over the past year and some change. He's just been gutting. He's
Yeah.
been gutting the company, but that's neither here nor there for this conversation. What I would say is Spotify doesn't get you royalties.
Yeah.
They're not the ones that are paying you out. And yes, the way that model is already built, they've already, sold off to the major companies. They're in bed with them. Those are the people the shareholders, or that's a public company.
Yeah.
That's who they respond to. Shareholders and those people who own, the majority stake and listenership on that platform. But all I say that to say, that's just another app. There
Yeah.
are other apps, and there will be more apps. And what happens is the more apps that they will create, right, where you would, as an artist or producer or whomever, may own your things outright because you register it yourself, right, and you do all the business behind the scenes that you didn't know that you could do by yourself because they wasn't going to tell you, right.
Yeah.
Now you do it all yourself. You're like, wait a second, I don't have to go get a million people. I don't gotta go be on a platform and get all those, because now I have a platform where people are coming to me, right?
Yeah.
And it can be 500 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But 500 people want to pay $100 because they know I'm going to put this app on that streaming platform where everybody's going to hear it. And they're going to make a bunch of money because now we go on social media and everybody gets a chance to be involved. So
Mm-hmm.
now when we have opportunities to say, okay, we have more than just this app, we have that app, this app, this app, this app, and then that's all controlled by the artist, that's what I think is going to turn the tide. And then we're going to see these different types of deals happen where it won't be a whole lot more of these Spotify things going on in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Spotify's
It's
so criminal, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It-
Daniel, man, Daniel, if you ever watch this, Daniel, I'm not. That's not nice, Daniel. I'm all for capital. That's not nice. You gutting a whole lot of money, and you could turn around and do some good with that instead of putting it in your pockets. I don't know if you're buying planes. I don't know if you're buying. I don't know what your leverage play is, but bro, you don't need all those hundreds of millions within a year or two unless you owing somebody else or you setting something else up to do the same thing all over again. So if that's the case, I denounce that, and I hope that we can do everything we can to thwart against some type of efforts like that, because that is not for the nature of the listener. That's not for the nature of the creators either. That's for the
yeah.
nature of the people who want to pillage and take away from and not really reciprocate.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the Web3 models that are
Hmm.
out currently right now, do you think that there could be some kind of implementation with Web3? Does it need to have a token? Does it not need to have a token to where everyone can win in these sort of shared economy type of models, and the artist can actually get paid properly through a smart contract, so we don't have to worry about having to register or anything like that? It's all just done via smart contract. I don't know if that's something that you've thought about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's being worked on right now, to be honest with you. Right.
Yeah,
So I'll just give a quick shout out, since I gave a shout out to Eve and I give a shout out to Rebel.
yeah,
So Rebel is a community I'm I'm a part of here, music community. They're building a platform to solve for that piece right there that you're talking about, to get artists registered the right way, to get them aggregating their IP the right way on the platform, and get them knowing that first audience, and dialing in the right way. So yes, we're getting to a place where you'll see artists now informed, do all these registrations on their own, as well as I think the industry has already kind of put it that you better figure it out, and if you don't figure it out, you're just telling us to take advantage of you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what when so for the artists who are having to figure it out or want to figure it out or in the position to, are open minded, right? To seeing a different solution, and want to go a different way, and want to say, no, I want to own things. I want to do things differently. I want to, because some people don't. That's another learning lesson. Some people don't. But for those who do and those who are interested, I will shout out to Rebel, because they are now creating that algorithmic system that can now take what you create and start to do some of that registration stuff for you, start to connect you with the supply chain of getting your music from, the sound exchanges through the DSPs, and out to all the different other situations, and allowing the community inside the app, that brands can come in there, that labels can come in there, A&Rs can come in there, any individuals can still be a part of that app and still find discovery with you in your process wherever you are. So I think something like Rebel, where you have, well, it's in beta now. I think that beta is maybe released in another few weeks or so, maybe a month. I don't want to put a timeline on them,
Yeah.
but they will be released. I've seen it. I've seen the UI, what I mean, and it's much, it's in that same beta phase that most of these projects are in. Um, but to answer your question, there is an apparatus that will facilitate helping artists do that registration, get that ownership, understand those splits. We have weekly calls, right? Every Thursday, where we invite artists on, and we have, these kind of conversations out loud in the public. We've done them on Instagram, we've done them on Zoom, and things of that nature. We're tapped in with artists and where they want to actually go perform. So there's places here in New York where, 6 days out the week, artists are going in there to perform, and it's a sold out situation. But now they're all in one place, and they know I just recorded this music in the studio. I may have shot my video, put it on YouTube. Now I want to perform in front of people, but where does my career go after that? Right.
Yeah.
So from that is where we're starting to step in, hopefully, uh, helping these artists to say, okay, great. You know what I'm saying? Now you may
Yeah.
not want to go to a label, right? But now you want to create a career from this. How do you do it? Here are the apps. Here are the things you're going to need. And and I'm still not a person who's opposed to all the different factions that want to work inside this industry, right? Because major labels have done a great deal for a great deal of artists, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you would swear by them or whatever the case is, but they are there, and they have done great things, and they have these catalogs, and there's been monumental moments that have been created by these people as well. So what you want to do is find your leverage, right?
Yes.
What you want to do is find your leverage. So we want to help artists create that leverage, first and foremost, to have those conversations. How many places have you performed? How many people can you touch? Do you understand the value of the merch that you're creating? Is it identifiable to your audience? Can all these different things that the label, usually is going to judge you off of, but not ask you or tell you
Yeah.
why, that they're asking these questions, or they need to know these things, or they maybe not responding, or they're sitting back. It was 6 months ago when you met the guy, now you don't know what's been going on for 6 months, but
Yeah.
you've been sitting back watching, seeing how things are going to go, or moving things around to create an opportunity, right? These are the things we hope to continue to teach artists when they come to our events, when they come on our platform, when they see what we're doing in person, and bring it into the blockchain and the Web3 space. The first thing we wanted to do was actually bring some entertainment. I go to these events and they're boring. I'm being honest. They're boring.
Yeah.
I can't get my culture to come and enjoy this,
Yeah.
because they don't
Yeah.
understand it, and it's boring, right?
Yes.
So what are the ways that I can make this entire thing over here not so boring? The things that I've done was bring entertainment to it. So when we do these Zoom meetings, or we did something with POAP, which is, Web3 platform, they worked in the NFT space on Ethereum, and they were basically creating these digital coupons, or these digital tickets, to the
Yeah.
to events, right? So I immediately saw that and said, okay. Well, what if every artist got a PO app? Now you know what event that they went to. You know, a
Yeah.
Coachella PO app, a South by Southwest PO app, and then
Mm-hmm.
if these are going to be worth something in the digital space moving forward, that was one thing that clicked for me. So what I did is when a couple of years ago they had an event for I think it was Christmas, and it was a
Mm-hmm.
24-hour global event that they did online. So I scheduled myself right after the CEO at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we had a great turnout of people who watched our live because I set it up like a show. I put a
Yeah.
DJ, and I put an artist, and then I had the artist, shout out and talk to the people, put fire emojis in the chat, all that kind of stuff while we're simulcasting. Then that led to the release of people saying, "Oh, okay, you want to see the video?" Now we showed the
Mm-hmm.
video, so now everything had a transition to show. Okay, whoa, this ain't just Wait, we wasn't expecting a DJ. Okay,
Yeah.
we wasn't expecting music. Oh, this music's all right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, music's all right. Wait, you have a video? Whoa, show the video again. Wow,
Yeah.
what kind of experience is this? And then transition into the platform that I was working with at the time, Creative. Shout out to G2, who basically, I met in another Web3 community, right, for
Mm-hmm.
streaming finance. And he kind of, this a few years ago, we had the same vision. And so he had his platform ready and he wanted to integrate that. So I said, hey, look, man, while we're trying to get the platform up, let's market ourselves, you know what I mean, through this
Mm-hmm.
POAP event with the artists and show them how we're going to create a Web3 show. What
Yeah.
how do we do a Web3 booking, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that was my first iteration of booking an artist in the Web3 space. And actually, that same artist, I'm going to see him today. It was
Yeah.
very fruitful for our relationship because I didn't know him. He was on
Yeah.
Twitter,
Oh
and all
wow.
he had, yeah, he was on Twitter. And this is the story that'll be very brief. On Twitter, as I'm looking for somebody to join us, join the platform and anything like that, the main thing that happened around that time was life changing. On Twitter at the time, there was the new release of Spaces,
Mm-hmm.
Twitter
Yeah.
Spaces,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that technology had come out on Twitter. So now there were people on Twitter playing their music via their
Mm-hmm.
profiles in real time.
Wow.
That's so much playing their music on a jukebox level for the people who are hosting this Twitter space. They were sending them crypto as a payment for playing their music. Web3 booking
W-
was right there live and
Wow.
what was born right there in front of my eyes.
That's
Right?
amazing.
So right in front of my eyes, I'm looking at. So you just got this artist who said, "I just want to
Wow.
hear your music," and you have some crypto in your wallet. This artist happens to have a crypto wallet, and you paid them in real time for paying them, playing their music in live time. And
Yeah.
everybody was able to pretty much, hey man, just like a cash app. Hey man,
Yeah. Yeah.
put your wallet address up there. We're gonna drop you some crypto. We're gonna just that. And when I seen that, right, I said that's it right there. So now I
Yeah.
took that model and I said I wanted to take that artist who clearly already was in the space, already had a wallet, right?
Yeah.
I said, trust me, I want to book you for something else and put you in front of a different audience. You know what I'm saying? A global audience. And I set up the show so that he can be featured as one of the artists coming to our platform. And then after that, I featured the platform and the platform. We had a commercial for the platform that was very high quality. It was all of us as a group, you know what I mean? Kind of like a team on the call at one time, representing
Yeah.
the artist, representing the platform. So all of that together showed everybody, oh, he knows Web3 booking. Oh, that he has an agency for these artists to actually get booked with these other brands on these platforms, and they're gonna pay him. And they got paid. My guy got paid. He got paid $500 to not only just for that event, but he actually wrote a song.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a catchy like theme song or whatever it was for Poapathon, right? He
Mm-hmm.
wrote it himself. He got his friend to do the beat, and they literally did what would be a Nickelodeon jingle, right, for this
Wow.
platform, right? And they
Yeah. Yeah.
used it, and they started using it, started playing it from episode to episode. But at that point, that I saw this getting a lot bigger than we can control at the time. So it was just a one-time fee that they paid for it, but I knew that there was a lot more business we had to unpack from that opportunity. And we've been trying to
Yeah.
unpack that since, to say the least. But for so much to say that, yes, he got paid, went to his Coinbase wallet, right?
Mm-hmm.
We met up in person. I said, man, I'll take 10%, whatever that was. He gave me like $40 or 50, $60, whatever it was he gave me after, his little fees. And we went out, it was NFT NYC. We went out to NFT NYC, had a great time. He had some money on his Coinbase card, and what I mean, I had money to get around and have a drink. And that's how it happened that day. But
That
at
was
least we
amazing.
know, yeah, but at least we saw him trusting me from Twitter,
Yeah.
having a wallet. I say I have a platform. Come to this platform. We're going to promote this platform on this other platform. Get
Yeah.
to that platform, have an audience there, and then say, "Hey, look, we want to take it to another level and actually do an actual musical submission to this
Hmm.
platform to get paid by them," and they loved it. Right. So
Yeah.
all in that is where I saw like, okay, we have something here. Poap went on to, raise $10 million after all the, energy that we had brought to that show that day.
Hmm.
There was so many opportunities after that. Like I said, I got invited to NFT NYC there shortly after for free by another platform called G7, who paid for
Hmm.
me and the artist at the time to be there. So that's where we see this going. We see that things like that can happen. If I can get artists who are on Instagram now, on Twitter now, to get wallets, right? Don't matter
Hmm.
who. And now I can go to other Web3 platforms and say, hey, look, you need to, yeah, these meetings are dry. Nobody wants to come to your platform, or nobody's interested. How are we going to generate this excitement if I can show them that there's a tangible connection between this side and this side? A smart contract makes it all the easier.
Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling is something that will not just challenge your perspective, but also touch your heart and soul. It's a book that defies convention, blending art and literature into a thought-provoking masterpiece. A reflective piece of provocative art that tackles societal constructs from angles you've never considered. Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling delves into the very essence of our existence. It questions the technology that surrounds us, challenges our notions of beauty, stares unflinchingly into the eyes of death, and questions the boundaries of freedom. It scrutinized the educational system that molds our very future. This book is a journey, an exploration of shared human experience, and it's a work of art that refuses to be confined by tradition. It's a canvas painted with words, a melody of thought, and a testament to the power of creativity in a world dominated by algorithms and data. Visit moonboycapitalventures.com and get your hands on Hey Bro, I'm Just Trolling today. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Now let's jump back into the show.
Man, that's beautifully well said. You mentioned streaming finance. Can you break that down for the audience that doesn't understand what that means? Like, what does that actually mean?
Yes. So, first of all, it's a term I never heard of before until I heard of it. So,
Yeah.
what I mean? So to rest assured, y'all don't have to, think it was something that existed that like nobody told me. What is that? Nobody told me either. So the platform that I learned about it was called Superfluid. You can go superfluid.finance, and that's a community I've been a part of for maybe about 4 years now,
Hmm.
or close to 4 years, maybe 3. Um, Years now. And Superfluid.finance are into the business of creating money blocks, right?
Hmm.
So you're able to take, it's on the Ethereum platform, or most is on the Ethereum platform. They integrate with other platforms now. They've expanded quite a bit. But the object is to say, hey, there's some money that we have in an NFT, and we want to
Hmm.
stream it to you over time.
Got it.
So now instead of you just getting, a one time, what I mean, you're waiting for the stream, or you're waiting for the payment, whatever it is. I'm sending you $100, send 1,000, whatever the amount is, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
streaming fractions of that amount, like per second, or whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I have to pay you $2,000 next week, right?
Hmm.
I'm streaming that like a download all the
So
way until next week.
microtransactions for a specific period of time.
Yeah, so what you can do, I wouldn't just call them microtransactions because it's all within that block, right?
Yes.
So it's microtransactions within that block, and then that whole block is one transaction at the end of the day,
Why
right?
would you do
So,
that?
well, the thing is, there's no capital lockups when you do stuff like that. So if I'm streaming you, it's like I can take 2 weeks to pay you $100 now.
Got it.
But at the same time, on your side, you still know that there's a value of $100 that you're owed, that you're gonna get, right?
Hmm.
So whereas It also helps with subscriptions as well. So we wanted to figure out this technology with subscriptions, right? So
Yeah.
for instance, somebody subscribes to a payment right now. There's people getting paid streaming salaries, right?
Yeah.
Based on their treasury. So you build a treasury, you got a DAO, we have a DAO, you build a treasury. Treasury is just saying a bank. It's just a place where the money is. It's the
Yeah.
pile of money is over there, right?
Yeah.
So the treasury with the pile of money, how are we taking that money and moving it around all the places that it has to go? There's treasury management systems that already exist that just say like any other thing. It's just like ADP, you're paying people. Everybody has to get paid at a certain time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just a paycheck situation. But the difference is a lot of this crypto is based on arbitrage. So
Yes.
these prices fluctuate and all these things kind of change. That's what
Mm-hmm.
makes it difficult for it to be a sustainable model as of this stage. But using stable coins, right? And having
Yeah.
stable coins inside of everything that happens, you're now you don't have to worry so much about slippage and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So understanding stable coins and getting fiat uh, countries to understand stable coins has also been the challenge because you got to get them to no, it's not crypto, it's still your
Yeah.
fiat, it's just
Yeah.
token,
Yeah.
like it's like you're doing this to them and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
I still don't get it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the truth of the matter is right now, I'll tell you this. There are people in Norway, Sweden, that side of the globe who are in crypto, who are devs and things of that nature, who are getting paid in this way today, right?
Yes.
And the benefit of them getting paid like this, for them, it's like getting paid in your sleep
Yeah.
because the stream is always going as long as that subscription is open, meaning that contract is valid, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I've hired you for a certain amount of money, that money is streaming based on that subscription being open, and
But can it be closed?
yes,
Can it be?
it can be closed. It can be closed, and so it can be closed by the person who created it, or it can be closed based upon whatever the cost is to keep it going. You're not honoring that cost as far as a subscriber, right? So if I
Yeah.
have to pay into making sure, on the DeFi side of things, I'm making 1,500 back, but I have to make sure I'm putting 50 into this platform,
Yes.
to get 1,500 back for whatever that they're doing. Then as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I don't put that 50 in, that it's going to
It
break.
closes.
It's going to
Yeah.
close.
Oh, that's
Now,
super interesting.
yes, so that helps investors as well because I'm trying to get them to understand, hey man, now you guys can think about a different way of investing, which brings me back to the VC side and the fund side of what we want to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
now we get to show them, hey, look, you're not going to spend all your money at once. You never wanted to do that anyway, right? So you get you get the big sticker on everybody. Hey man, we're paying you 60,000 a year, paying you 150,000 a year, 300,000 a year, but you're only streaming. You know what I mean? Whatever you're streaming from endpoint to endpoint based on that
Yeah.
contract, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
you can stop subscription at any time, and they're doing all kind of really cool things where you can pause the subscription, so it's almost like when you take a fire hose or something like that, and you put a clamp on it, and all of it
Yeah. Yeah.
starts to build up, and then you release it. So they're doing all kind of weird little tricks like that with it. But the thing is, and it creates more influx, and they're doing all kind of things like that. But they're still beta testing a lot of that for the main purpose of this conversation and the excitedness that I have with that and streaming finance and connecting it with streaming technologies with platforms, so on and so forth, is because
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that these labels will talk to me and say, hey, that's a good idea. So what you saying we should do with the money instead? And the brands is just going to go straight to the platform anyway, and then the social people just going to, and we still don't have to do too much. I'm like, no. Y'all don't want to do nothing. Just reroute it, and y'all could. And now, when y'all put the money over here, y'all can make money before y'all worrying about what they're gonna do with it, which gives them more opportunity to be creative, to find their audience, to do what they need to do, to
Yeah.
artists develop, right?
Yes.
And you're making money in DeFi while they're developing,
Yeah.
right? So now, when they're all fully developed and they have their artists, excuse me, they have the audience, and everybody's following them, their audience is also taking a piece of the things that they create and to get to the point where they're gonna honestly get to that level of where that treasury is going to actually activate, right? Or you're
Yeah.
going to be able to trigger, now you have that deal and so on and so forth, those advances, so on things like that. And you're able to collateralize differently because now you're collateralizing globally. You know, you're not
Yes.
just saying what you're doing in one market, you're saying what you can do on all these different fronts. So there's a lot more opportunity there. So, all in all, the streaming finance should look like there's a money pit, and we're trying to show investors, and we're trying to show labels, and we're trying to show people in the VC community there's a different way to invest into these digital assets. Then we're trying to show the actual creators and the brands that are in the middle. We're trying to say, hey, look, you want to get on these platforms, you want to create these platforms for yourself if you really want to go that way, and you want to start to leverage both sides of what you need being in the middle. And then we want to say for the consumers, hey, no more of you being forgotten, right? You can take a subscription, the same way you're doing with your Spotify, so on and so forth, into some of these apps and subscribe to the artists that you want to subscribe to. But you're going to get a reciprocal process in subscribing to those artists because now you're going to own a piece of that IP because that's part of the platform. So
Amazing.
those are the things that we hope that we can get across to people. And I appreciate this platform because this is pretty much, only the second time I've come public facing to say, hey, these are the things that are actually going on, and these are the things that you get excited about.
Yeah, yeah. You getting me excited, man. I'm getting some
Yes,
FOMO.
yes,
But
yes.
I want to switch over real quick to talk a little bit
Mhm,
about the music industry in terms of the genres. And
mhm,
do you, maybe it's just me and my intuition, just subjectively looking at the landscape of things, but I kind of tend to lean more towards the Afrobeat genres now
mhm,
than
mhm,
with hip hop. And do you
mhm.
see a pivot happening where, labels are now looking now more towards the, Afrobeat artists and looking more towards signing them as opposed to hip hop? Is what do you think about the state of hip hop currently right now?
I first of all, I don't think your intuition is far off. I think your eyes are just like everybody's who's in tune. There is that going on. To what degree we can say that may not be fair as of yet, right? But what I will say is I know being in a space, and if I'm of one of the forefronting pioneering minds in this space, I don't claim to be, but maybe I am,
Yeah,
that yeah, I've been paying attention for a long time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I've been on Afrobeats like 2016, 17ish, right? I had my
yeah,
first artist who wanted to find a way to get, popping in the States. 2018, I was working with a couple different artists, extremely talented. You know what I'm saying? I love Afrobeats. That's genre I like, brunch music, hanging out, females. It's all good. I love Burna Boy. I love Tim's. I love
yeah,
Tyler. I love all of it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
Beto, like you name it. I love all these guys, right?
yeah,
So they don't make bad music to me. They just don't.
yeah,
So, but as far as the state of hip hop is concerned, the business of hip hop has been compromised, and we understand that. And there's a lot of people who don't, and artists, dare I say, the bigger artists, you know what I'm saying? They don't even
yeah,
know all the things that I said to you. Maybe Drake does, you know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't think he
yeah.
can explain everything that I've explained as far as on the other side because he just didn't have the time to learn, you know?
Yes,
But there's artists right now who don't know anything of everything that I've said, and they're like, well, they're there. You know what I mean? I'm just a little old me, and how do I know this? And why they can't, I'm only one person.
yeah,
So when it comes to hip hop and things of that nature, yes, I'm from New York. I come from hip hop. I come from all of the elements of it, from graffiti to dance and break dances, from being on the mic, turntables, all of that from the essence of it. I've been a participant. I come from rap battling on the streets. I come from, doing it at schools, parties, things of that nature, to, having opportunities that I have today that it's like, I wouldn't take it. So I've done all the elements of hip hop. I know, legendary DJs, and worked at the stations and done that whole bit. I've put some dues in, maybe not as much as others, but I put some dues in. Right?
yeah,
Hip hop is in a state of needing people to understand how to tell their story again and feel confident in it. As a hip hop artist, as somebody in the space, I know that to be self evident of myself. I'll be self aware enough to say that we need to own our stories and get back to telling our stories and not trying to tell what people think they
that
want
they
us to
want to
hear.
hear.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
We have to get back into self-identifying, telling our stories and being confident in that, and moving with the audiences that we acquire through telling our stories. We
yeah,
tell these other stories, these stories of drill, these stories of, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Grander, you know what I mean? These stories of all these other things because that's what's told. or we see that's going to alleviate our situation. Telling you about my plight, you don't care about me. Telling you about where I want to be, or aspirational about what I think I'm supposed to be, or where I'm supposed, where I'm supposed to go. Those are the things that, make you want to buy into me, right? Those
Yeah.
are the things that make you want to support me as a brand and as an artist. So there's a shift. And who are you going to be, right? You're going to be that, and you're going to be a poster child for whatever it is as a you, or you're going to identify yourself to the people, and you're going to allow the people to resonate with you, and you're going to, put them in positions where they're going to be empowered to support you. I think that will be a dance that we'll see for a while from a lot of different artists, and to support, where you're saying where I see things going. Yes, I do see the labels going to Africa, like I see the VCs going to Africa, because it's all one goulash, if you ask me, right? Everybody's going to Africa because it's over. You know what I'm saying? We done got all
Yeah.
50 states over here. Everybody done cross-pollinated and stuff like that already. It's done. They
Yeah.
want to go to Africa, where it's untapped, where we're getting music of the time. We're getting music that is timeless. It does sound, like it's coming from a place that we can't identify. It's very much what hip hop felt like when it started. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
upswing, 20, 30 years ago. It does have that je ne sais quoi to me. Now I wasn't of my age then, but my parallels and my studies, that's what it feels like. It feels something similar. It feels
Yeah.
something similar to the same way that it rolls. I know there's a lot of differences, and there's a lot ways I could be misspeaking about it. But as far as uh being that next thing, I do see that. Like, I see Africa is the next frontier for VCs, for entrepreneurs, for people here in the States that actually want to, really get ahead almost,
Yeah.
and have a leg up on what's happening next.
How do you think that how can we bridge the diaspora between African Americans and Africans? I'll tell you a little bit about me. So I was born in Nigeria. So I moved to the States when I was 4, and I lived in the
Hmm.
States until I was 19, joined the U.S. Army, and etc. And throughout
Okay.
my time just living in the U.S., I never really fit in with African Americans, and it was quite hard to connect
Mm.
because I think part of the reason, maybe subconsciously, was because of the fact that Africans kind of sold African Americans to the West, and
Hmm.
maybe that's part of it. Maybe consciously, subconsciously, some people don't even know the story. Some people do, and maybe
Hmm.
another part of it is just we were marketed, Africans are maybe marketed as not as cool until recently. Obviously
Hmm.
until recently, now it's
Right.
cool to
Right,
to wear
right. We're cool
dashiki
to
and
know an
stuff.
African now. Oh, well, yeah, it's cool to be African now.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
a whole
yeah,
Ice Spice. Oh, she's Nigerian, really? Now everybody knows
yeah.
Ice Spice. Like what? And she's not. It's her best friend, but that's neither here nor there, right? But
Yeah.
point is,
So
yeah. To answer your question, how do we bridge this diaspora? And from your experience, I think we talked a little bit about that in our previous conversation. Yes, and I appreciate you going here with this. So what else? Or I'll remind your audience is that I have a lot here in New York. I'm not sure you travel. I'm not sure if you've been in New York a while, but in New York we have very potent African communities, right? In Brooklyn, in the Bronx, and in different places in Connecticut, New Jersey. As well. We have very affluent. Some are affluent and some aren't. African communities, right?
yes.
I happen to, be an anomaly to, like you said, some of your experience with people who are called ADOS, right? American descendants of black slaves. You know what I'm saying? So I think a little differently. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm on a different kind of a spectrum with certain things and how I see the world and my perspectives, right?
Yeah.
But I never had that personal issue, right? I have a lot of friends who were immigrants, whether they came from Ukraine, whether they came from Jamaica, whether they came from, like you said, Nigeria, Ghana, South America. I was privileged, and my experience from childhood and growing up. I met a lot of New York is a melting pot. There's a lot
Yeah.
of immigrant people here in New York and in my tri-state area. So I've been exposed to these cultures. Some of these people were my friends, going to eat with them, different things like that. I'm girlfriends, things of that nature. I've had that's a little bit different from people to your experience, right?
Yes.
To connect the two, in my mind, I think it starts here in conversations like this. I'm born in the States. I'm only from the States, right? I'm not. I'm Jamaican. People don't like me when I'm going to. You know what I mean? Because I'm a Yankee to them. You know. So, so at the end of the day, and I love Jamaican people. I love everything about them. You know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so at the end of the day, it's like to bring it together, it does take people owning who they are, and
yeah,
owning, exactly who they want to show up as. And me, I want to show up as somebody who's embracing culture. I
yeah,
want to show up as somebody who wants to get to understand things and, wants to share, my knowledge and things like that. At least I want to, be more front facing about that being who I am. And I'm seeing that that's part of the process, right?
yeah,
Um, and the first step. The next thing I would say is we need to create more synergy like this, right?
yeah,
More synergy where we having the conversations where we can actually bring this topic up, right? When I'm working with Indie Brokers Dao, most of the admin in my DAO live in Nigeria, right? Most of
yeah,
like most that's what it is. Most of those guys, because where they develop technologically and how they see the world and how they're trying to get ahead, it's a skew and a miss to what's going on here with the distractions here in the States or in the West, as they say, right?
yeah,
You're taking people who are in a plight right now, who want to
yeah,
solve a problem right now, versus people who have the same problem but constantly distracted about what the issue is, right?
yeah,
So when you have people who are under no distraction, I don't have shoes, or I don't have Wi-Fi, or I don't have food, or I don't have, good shelter, or I don't have a stable income, and so on and so forth, versus people who get all those things subsidized.
yeah,
you know there's going to be, like you said, maybe some things that's a misunderstanding of where did we at, where's our real starting place, you know what I'm saying? And based on where our real starting place is where we really feel like we need to go, and that determines how we actually join together in what we're seeing as a unified focus, right?
yeah, yeah,
I think that's part of it. I think the next thing is to continue to use the things that we've been using. Music is a universal language. It's why I went to music first, because I felt like with all this stuff going on, we could talk a million different languages, but people understand that rhythm. People understand that beat. People understand, they'll sing your stuff if there's not the same language,
yeah,
because it's something that they feel, it's something that they identify with. So using music in that type of positive way, right? And
yeah,
then pairing that with the background of what you can do with financial literacy and education, bringing opportunities to create generational wealth, because now you're creating tokens, which are little companies or little shares behind these opportunities, or these funds that will now, people didn't have opportunities to invest or even know or even think that they could, or it took me to 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, to understand I could have a financial advisor.
yeah. It's crazy. Yeah,
I didn't.
and,
When you see the commercials, like, okay, yeah, I don't know, that ain't for me. It's like you tune it out like it's a Billify, or some type of pill commercial. You know what I mean? You just tune it out like, oh, that had Howard Jones. I don't know. Who cares? And
yeah,
these are things that in other cultures and other, they understand. I got a job, I got a this, I got a salary. I'm gonna go sit down with my attorney, my this, my that. And this is all the
yeah,
things that help me create wealth and pass it on. So I think
yeah.
those elements we're gonna be able to explain in our entertainment, explain in our music. I think we'll be creative in that process. And in that process, we'll come together and it'll start to identify people on that same trajectory. And I think that will facilitate what we want to see as far as, coming together and bringing the diaspora together.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting because when I look at the landscape of like social media and marketing and all these different types of things, and I see that when it comes to even traveling and vacationing in Africa, there's a little bit of a stigma. And I'm wondering why that is, specifically, especially from the African American community in the U.S., why they prefer to go to Tulum, or they prefer to go to the Bahamas, or they prefer to go to, and not to Africa to go travel. What do you think the reason is behind that?
Well, I'm gonna be quite honest. That's what they see first, and then that's what they can afford. It's expensive to get all the way to Africa. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
expensive to get all the way to Africa, and there's still, unfortunately, and I know this is changing. I know social media is helping with this, and I'm so for this. But we need to see the fly stuff. You know,
Yeah.
people don't want to go from where they already know that it's not okay, or they struggle, or maybe, whatever their lifestyle is. They want a vacation where, like, oh, I went over there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That changed my life to go see this. And usually the way it was marketed, going to Africa meant you had to go do work. Going to Africa meant you had to volunteer. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that stigma around going to Africa. No, I'm not going over there for UNICEF. I'm going over there to get a bag. I'm going over there to vacation. I'm
Yeah.
going over there to you see the beaches over there
Yeah.
in South Africa. you know
Yeah.
we trying to get over there.
Yeah.
And my impetus is saying there's only very few people who just have the money, have the funds, have the resources to know, to hear, to this is nobody even knew we gonna really go? Do you
Yeah.
understand? I was in second grade when my teacher told me we were going to Africa. I really packed my bags and believed her. And when I was
Wow.
in second grade, I packed my bags thinking that this lady said we know we was in second grade, make your passport, do all this. My
Mm-hmm.
mind thought she was really taking us. I got ready. I told my parents, 6 in the morning, we showed up to school. Of course, we didn't go to Africa, right? We went on the we watched the video, we went virtually through the video in second grade,
Mm-hmm.
1996. But the point is, that's how much I wanted to, see the world expand and see, but that was me, right?
Yeah.
What does it actually take to do it? You gotta have an Amex, or just you have some money. You gotta know people. You gotta be connected. And the thing is, when we're fed what we're fed commercially for so long, there's so much unlearning that has to happen. And what happens is, in my experience, in some of the conversations, it seems like the patience starts to wear thin at different junctures, right?
Yeah.
If there's a community in Africa who's saying, yo, we're trying to reach out to people in the States, they get exasperated after a while, because, like, what are you guys focused on? What is your problem? Like, we're trying to do this, and they're of substance, and it's met with the response of, what they got to do with me? I'm over
Exactly.
here doing this 1, 2, 3 over here. That got nothing to do with me. You're trying to have me accept and absorb. Do you know what we already still over here fighting for?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where I think some disconnect happens. What is a priority fight? Right?
Yeah.
What is our priority thing? And to bring it all into our culture, yes, there's so much opportunity, but I also think that creates a certain freeze, if you will. You know what I mean? With
Mm-hmm.
so much opportunity, or almost even expounding that there could be. You know what I'm saying? It creates a
Mm-hmm.
paralysis. You know,
Yeah.
and I think that in of itself is where I'm more identifying in conversations that we're having, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to break that up, and we're gonna have to see that in advance. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how, like, we got to get to that level. You know what I mean? We have to
Yeah.
break down where people are gonna freeze up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And feel like we're moving things forward, but now, oh my goodness, this is going to happen and thwart everything. Or we're going to have to now face this type of scrutiny, or we're going to end up, dealing with this or that. And we have to get past those hurdles. We have to get past the hurdles of when somebody says no, or we have to have an uphill battle here, or this is
Mm-hmm.
going to take a little bit more time to mature this relationship or these communications, or understand exactly, the intention behind this organization, things of that nature are what's going to have to be streamlined. But the more that we actually have conversations like this, the more we can give that an opportunity to
When you
do it.
look at the African American working capital, it's estimated to be about $3 trillion.
Hmm.
And so for me, when I look at Africa as the last frontier market, and I
Hmm.
see how the mistreatment of people who are African American has been in the States, and how we've only been able to read since what, 1865, only been able
Hmm.
to buy real estate since less than 100 years ago.
Hmm.
When you look at all these disadvantages that we've had, and how even when a lot of times it feels like, this is just my perception, that when you have the same level of status or capital as someone else who doesn't have the same features, you get
Mhm.
mistreated and not seen as the same. You still get seen as a second class citizen a lot of times. So I wonder what then is the I understand that the ancestors had to fight for the rights that are available in the US and everything, and I get all that, but I think that in my opinion it would make more
Mhm.
sense to, you know what? It's very hard for me to climb up the corporate ladder. It's very hard for me to get a loan. It's very hard for me to, do business, to get upfront capital to start something. Why not take my resources over to Africa where it's early, there's not a lot of competition,
Mhm.
they're still growing, people look like you,
Mhm.
and they're willing to help you if you come with the right mindset and so on and so forth, and you talk to the right people, and we could synergize the resources and skill sets with the locals, with their local culture and their know-how on the ground.
So, so basically, to that, I would say we have to learn how, I'm watching our culture go through a cleansing a little bit, right? If you see a little bit of things that may be happening in the hip hop community, where there's exposing of this going on, exposing of that going on, right? So right now we're trying to find out who to trust.
Right.
Okay, we're trying to find out who to trust. Everything that you present, I think on its face, most people can agree with. I agree with. I'm trying my best to hopefully continue this relationship, and we can do that work, and we can put this work out there to the world, and we will have something tangible to let people follow. I think we need to learn how to trust again, right? There's been a lot of eroding of trust over time because of maybe factions we believe that would be a particular savior or something that we think would take us somewhere. Somebody had it figured out, and all we have to do is just do what they said or follow them for a period of time, and we would get to where we wanted to go. I think that is eroded, and now we're in a space where it feels like every man for themselves, right? Not saying that that's technically, I'm not saying that people, and by and large, think like that, but I think we become an individualized society, right? Where people are
In
more worried.
America, or the African American community, or in America as a whole?
I think America as a whole, and more specifically in the African American community, because not to say that we don't join together, we don't have groups where we get together and we're actively taking on these initiatives, right? No, those exist. They're very prevalent, they're very prominent. There's plenty of them in the 50 states to go around if you want to look, right? The point of what your question is what do we feel? It's almost like the same thing what's going on here in the country, right? There's a lot of things that one administration has done in the past 4 years that the actual society can feel nothing about, right? They can run a laundry list. Yo, we've done this, and nobody feels a thing, because
Yeah.
what's marketed to them is what they believe, and they believe and what the overall feeling of what everybody is feeling. You know what I mean? So it's not so much that they want to dial into the facts of things. It's more like, what is the perception? You know,
Yeah.
and the perception is right now, don't trust anything. Don't trust your mama. Don't trust this person. Don't trust that person. Everybody's out to get you. These people's out to kill you. These people out to steal your money. These people's out to take your kids away. It's so much that when it comes to making some decisions that of what you're talking about, people are held back by the fears of the things that they're oppressed by, the things that they experience. So that trust is really what needs to be established. And to me, when you talk about money in and of itself, that's all money is. Money is trust.
It's
If you look
trust.
on fiat, it's just in God we trust.
Yes.
I trust that this tender is going to be some type of medium of exchange, that whatever you got on that side is equivalent to what I got on this side. Same time, okay, that transaction is currency. You know what I'm saying? And the flow of that is currency. So that's where we are currently. We're currently in a situation where money can't move because nobody trusts anything. And
Yeah.
we're creating this fiat. based off this mistrust because we have to speculate and make people perceive that it's so much good going on and it's okay when we're actually depreciating the value of their work and of their time.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that is everything that, people can see, but like, okay, so what do we do about it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What happens? Because I'm stuck. I don't make money. You know what I'm saying? I don't print money. I'm not a bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, how am I literally going to change all of that? Now, when you start to getting into the weeds of it and you realizing that changing these things is actually using these technologies to your advantage, well, then we're still behind the eight ball because how do I know anything about these technologies? Who's teaching me about blockchain? Who even knows anything about these technologies to teach me that I'm even going to trust that they got my best interest once they even telling me I got to know because for their time, they're going to charge me money. And I don't have money to spend time with them for them to teach me what they think I need to know. So you know what? We're gonna figure this out however it goes. And if it's meant for me, it's meant for me. If it's not, then we'll just be some people who are forgotten about. But that is a plight that we stand against right now. That's the situation where I'm trying to literally activate these type of platforms and get into the projects and go into the hood with my friends and stuff like that and really say, yo, man, right here. You know what I'm saying? I know you don't want to do it, but at least you're gonna know. You know? I know it ain't cool for you just yet, but at least you heard me put you on to it. So everybody can start to do their research and start to get to a place where they can see that. All in all, yes, to get over there to do things in Africa, bro, if I could round all these people up, put them in the fun and say, we gonna do this, that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. But they don't even know how to set that up. A lot of
Yeah.
these people's, even with the money, even with the
Yeah.
millions, they don't know how to set that up. Like, okay, that sounds cool. But who do I go to if we trying to do that? Right? Who
Yeah.
who am I gonna trust to you talking about how many millions of mine you need, or how much I done did whatever I had to do or fight and claw and chew to get to where and now my next thing is I have to do this. Who's gonna secure that? Now if it don't work, okay, I'm the guinea pig. Oh wait, we couldn't find them to do it first. All these types of things are things that are holding the spur of innovation, in real time. So it does take these conversations and it does take the support from both sides, right? If I go get my biggest people, you know that I know are most prominent, I'm gonna need your biggest people. Who's most
Yeah.
prominent? I don't need the person where I got the biggest, most prominent person, and then this is the college kid on this side, because now, as much as we know that we want that opportunity for that college kid, there's a disconnect, you know? There's a
Yeah.
disconnect. And the same thing on the other side. You don't want to be the sultan or the this, that, and the third, and then you just with a two-bit hustler out of the States who's just running you out of your money, and then you like, why this is why we don't do business with the West. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
have no concept of this, that, and the third, right? So I think
Yeah.
all of that to say we can get there. I believe in myself. I believe in the communication that I have with the people that I have it with, right?
Yeah.
I know I have an extensive network that I choose not to activate. But I am working on that because I have to start with me. We have to start with ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I'm starting with myself and I'm saying, okay, these DJs, these platinum artists, these, you know what I'm saying? And you just some obscure person who just decides to dodge between the raindrops, right? And the few people who do know you have the ability to bring these things together. Well, it's time you get started. It's time
Yeah.
you actually really start doing this because, bro, looking around in New York, it's like you and five other people that look
Yeah.
like you, that talking like this, and it's just y'all. And y'all know where
Yeah.
you are. It's just you guys. And we're talking about New York City. We're talking about I'm here. I'm on
Yeah.
Wall Street. I worked on Wall Street. Now I'm back on Wall Street with a different office and trying to do this process, right? And like I said, all the people who look like me, I know them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a handful of us. You know,
Yeah.
so when it comes down to it, it's like yes, we want to usher in. We got to think. We got to think strategically. I'm a cool dude. You know what I'm saying? That's fine. I can be cool in many spaces, but some people are not. They don't want to be cool with a cool dude. They want to see the nerd person. They want to see somebody who doesn't look like them, and they can trust that more for some reason. You know,
Yeah, why
and
is that? I just
I'm
don't
still I'm
understand it.
I'm I'm still in the search for that specific thing, right? But I guess I can only attribute it to when people are seeing themselves, you know, more than they're seeing the opportunity, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I can't if me and you look alike, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking in the mirror. And if I don't believe in myself, then I can't believe in you. Because we look alike. It's a mirror, you know? But if I know it's this person or that person that doesn't look like me and they're telling me something that I don't personally identify with, then I gotta trust it because I don't know no better. Right?
yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what subconsciously is happening, and that's why I said it's very important that we're having these kind of conversations because there is a me in the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm here. I can raise my hand. And I can say I can talk to different cultures. I'm not scared of people. I may not eat everything. I may be picky. I may be a picky eater. But outside of that, I can talk to anybody from any culture as long as we dealing with each other and respect, and we're trying to, forward moving any initiative, right? So for what Africa is concerned, it's a crazy opportunity. We need real estate, like you said. There's plenty of places to go build houses. You know,
So
we
many.
need so many places to go build houses. We need jobs, right? There's so many ways I'm imagining our DAO creating up to 10,000 jobs, right? Because based on the fact that each one of these people being able to put their music on a platform or create a company that now people are helping them with, and they're decentralizing the tasks that are going to go into that company, right? No matter what jurisdiction they are, they want to register here, there, whatever your company is. But the point is, now people can work. You know what I'm saying? For your company, no matter where in the world they are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we have these technologies. And I think when we start to realize that these things exist, a lot of these people, they don't know. They have no clue about the things that I'm talking to you about. They have no clue about this type of dialogue that we have. And there's people who know me personally, who know me for a very long time, who will probably see this and probably like, well, where he been knowing all this the whole time? You know? Well, so all of that I take into consideration when I'm thinking like, why is that? Because I would look at myself. Did you're somebody who knew this? Like just keep it on the real. You're somebody who knew this whole time. Why ain't tell me, bro? That's how people feel. And you're like, but I did
Yeah.
try to tell you. You just weren't ready to listen, or you didn't understand
Exactly.
what I was trying to tell you, right? But that's neither here nor there because the plight of the message is on the communicator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to get the message through. So if it's not getting that way, then I got to find a new way to land that message.
Yeah.
So that's part of the process that I have to do now.
I think one thing that really helped me with some of my brothers to help wake them up because they're, I guess the best word to use because of lack of a better term, they're more Americanized.
Yeah,
As
you can say that. I think that's
yeah,
fair. I think we hear that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they just hadn't traveled as much and etc. And they couldn't understand what I was trying. The point I was trying to get about, get your finances in order. Hey, this 9 to 5 is, shouldn't be a long term game plan. Hey, the Social Security, they already came out and said they're not going to be able to afford it after 2030. Hey, you need to be looking up for backup plans. Hey, there's a potential possibility of the dollar de-dollarization within the next 10 to 15 years. And, there could be a potential, mix up with different global reserve currencies and political instability is happening. And, it could be a potential war going on, so trying to get all this stuff for them to understand, it's a lot. And I tried two different ways. Try first with me talking to them, didn't work because it's me. So I tried, okay, start sending them information from like content, right? So I thought, okay, maybe content is a good outlet. Maybe if I'm not saying it and someone else is saying it, didn't work until I found the right prototype of person that they resonate with that was then saying the same thing. And for them, it was Wall Street Trapper.
Yep.
So
Yep.
once I sent them a Wall Street Trapper, because I found this guy, through the algorithm, I was like, this is the guy. Like they'll get it because he's speaking a language they understand. He's from a type of environment they resonate with. They can understand it more. He's speaking very simplistically, not using such big vocabulary and verbiage and things of this nature. So
Mm-hmm.
Once I sent that to them, they finally hit them like, oh, I shouldn't buy Nikes. I should buy Nike stock because
Mm-hmm.
then I have ownership, and through buying like Apple stock and all these different stocks, I can actually get paid for that. And
Mm-hmm.
it clicked in their head, but it didn't
Mm-hmm.
click before, when I was trying to get them to understand it. And I think we have to be persistent and diligent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really, for me, it's become a new life goal because of the stage that I'm at right now. Currently, is that the higher stage you get in life, the more you start looking at things from such a bigger macro perspective, and
Sure.
you start tying things together and start finding different levels of purpose.
Absolutely.
And I think my new level of purpose will be, how can we bridge the diaspora? How can we get the diaspora to stop spending trillions of dollars on vacations in Italy?
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Here's my idea, right?
Yeah.
To it. Getting into the venture space, the fund space, um, and turning people into investors, turning retail people into accredited investors, right? And that pipeline process. My idea is all of these artists that are making that money, right? So who've eclipsed now, I made over a quarter million or half a million, whatever the case is like that. However, I've done it. They should be accredited investors, right? They should be registered accredited investors, and they should understand the responsibility and duties to be in that. That's one. The next thing is anybody has an opportunity to be a retail investor, right? So we have to show more platforms that allow people at that retail level, right? That's the next part. And when you mention Wall Street Trapper, that's the guy. I definitely saw him first on Earning Leisure, Rashard and Troy. Those are people who went to my,
Earn your
what I
leisure.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Earning
Yeah.
Leisure. They're people out, we're all friends together, right? So, so those guys, they're a couple years older than me. We have a lot of mutual friends together. And they were able to ride that line. They were able to be both culturally, representative, and then, also financially pertinent, and understanding that they really did was the thing that really needed to be done, which was, hey guys, here's what they're doing over there if you didn't know, right? And that turned into a podcast, that turned into a network, that turned into everything that it turned into. But there was still a vision that Rashad had, right? We come from similar things. We both played basketball. He went the financial advisor route. I didn't do basketball in high school, did the music thing for a while, then got into the, what I mean, the life insurance, so on and so forth thing, and these converging opportunities to see, oh man, we could be affecting our community, creating, wealth through finance and policies and this, that, and the third. That's initially what we wanted to see. And the business teach you to go after people with the money already, right? To establish yourself, right? But
Yes.
then personally, we come from communities where we see people struggle, and we see people who need these legs up. And that's where we getting into doing the work, right? So that the work starts to come in, and we start to say, all right, now how am I really going to tell this person with no money to do something that they need to do? You know,
Yeah.
that in and of itself became the challenge, because that's when we realized, oh, they've been playing against us. There's no
Yeah.
way I could tell somebody with $100 that they're gonna get to wherever they need to get, because that's all that they got. And the
Yeah.
amount of time it's going to take them to save, and to stave off even going to Disneyland when they got the
Yeah.
three kids and so on and so forth. It's not a it's a realism that's really tough for people. You're trying to
Yeah.
get people to stop doing some things, unlearn some things, find out a new way to do things, and then see success in that, right?
Yeah.
In that process. So all of that switching and turning, earning leisure is very important to that. Wall Street Trap is very important to that. AG the mortgage guy is very important to that. To these different things, so people can see their value. People don't know it.
Yeah.
They don't know it. So when we start to identifying it for them and helping them see their value, and starting to show, hey, look, that thing that you got there, guess where it makes money? Guess what? Them Nikes, you know what I'm saying? Here's how you really make money. These are things that weren't, like you said, maybe until 5, 10 years ago. I talked to my dad, who's 63, almost 63 years old, 64
Yeah.
years old. He's like, bro, I'm telling you to go watch the Wall Street, because nobody was telling me this stuff, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So we're in a cultural reckoning, we're in a financial reckoning, and yes, all these things that are reckoning, I know for certain mindsets do scare, because when we become in the know, that's when we have the most discourse, and things become the most combatant, right? Because
Yeah.
now I'm in the know, now I become a threat. So a
Yeah.
lot of people don't want to be in the know to become a threat, and then having to deal with that anxiety on top of everything that's already going on, right? So to settle that, you need people like a Wall Street that just tells you, you know what I'm saying? Just worry
Yeah.
about this for right now. Just get and do this, yo, bro. Just do it like that. And the more we set a foundation of people who are just at that level and allow them to grow as they want to mature in the process, I think we'll start to see that change another time.
Yeah, man. I think we can leave it off there for now, man. I would love to keep this conversation going on,
Man,
man.
this has been amazing, man. I definitely appreciate. I didn't know how long this was gonna be. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
didn't know how long we were gonna talk, but I'm definitely happy that we got to at least the topics that we did kind of brush over. And this has been a pleasure, man. And just once again, I want to give a big shout out to you, Moonboy Venture Capital, and all that kind of stuff, for seeing what we do and seeing what I do at Stanford, and seeing that we have a connection there in the Web3 space, and wanting to take a chance to say, hey, I think you and I need to get on a podcast and have this conversation out loud for the community to follow. So I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you so much for it.
Thank you so much, man, for coming on, man. And where can people find you, your company, all your information? Where can they find it on the internet?
Okay, so the best place to find me on the internet is probably LinkedIn, and that's probably corny. But the truth of the matter is, um, there's a lot of things that I've done in stealth with that same mindset that I've told you about, that you don't want to necessarily show yourself, because you become that preeminent threat that may, put doors against you earlier before you're ready to actually transition. So for that mindset, I would say LinkedIn. So if you look up Darnell Bradwell, ID whatever like that on LinkedIn. We do have a Discord, right? That when you contact me, I will give you the Discord link. It is still
Yeah.
pretty much a private Discord that I send to people, because we're still doing some things. But other than that, if you really want to find me, I can be Meta ID on Twitter, right? So ID the CEO at ID the CEO. But my name is Meta ID on Twitter. Same thing. It's ID. It's underscore ID, um, underscore the CEO on Instagram. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Other than that, I appreciate it, man. Please, if you're serious about anything, if you're serious in the space that we're speaking of, I'm gonna say this publicly on your platform for today, for where we are right now, and tomorrow's my birthday. Shout out to me. That
Shout out to you, man.
yes, that find me on LinkedIn, because that's where it seems the most of people who are trying to push things forward. That's where we are right now, because we're verifying each other as far as where you work, how long you work, who you know, things of that nature, and it's not mired in all the other nonsense, like you may see on other platforms today. Right? There's still maybe some nonsense there, but that's where I can say you'll get this version of idea if you want to move some things forward. Otherwise, you may just be talking to a music exec or somebody doing, you know what I mean, some music on the side and on another app. So, but
Yeah.
yes, thank you again for the time. I appreciate it. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, we definitely gotta do this again, man, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, but thank you
Take
so
care.
much to your audience. We'll talk soon, man.
Yeah, this concludes this episode of the Mooncast then, man, and peace.